Hello and welcome everyone. I am Nilesh Sharma, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Research at Flynn Company, and I'd like to thank everyone who has taken the time to join us today for our discussion on artificial intelligence and its role in mergers and acquisitions. How do bankers are accelerating their deal success using the emerging tools and technology through AI, machine learning? Uh, Personally, we're witnessing a significant shift in the M&A landscape where AI is becoming a key strategic enabler for middle market firms. From streamlining target identification to enhancing due diligence, AI is reshaping deal making across sectors such as health tech, data centers, consumer tech, med tech, to name a few. In this discussion, we will explore how firms can leverage AI to overcome challenges and accelerate deal success as the technology continues to transform the M&A process. For the discussion today, we're joined by three esteemed panelists. First, Alok Tayal, who's Managing Director of Fuld Company and also an investor into early stage startups. We also have Jeffrey Cruz, who's a managing director at Greenwich Capital Group and leads the firm's technology sector practice in the M&A side. And lastly, we have my good friend Shawn Flynn, who's also an investment banker, principal at Global Capital Markets, but a very popular host of the podcast Silicon Valley. Uh, all of these three panelists will share their first-hand observations, unique points of views, and expectations on how AI is impacting M&A. I'd like to thank all of our panelists. We'll also be recording this webinar, and if you have any questions, please enter them in the question box, which you can find on the top right of your screen. We will do our best to answer them during the course of the webinar. Without further ado, let's get started. Shawn, let me begin with you because I know the subject is very close to your heart, and this is something that we discussed not too long ago during Deal Max. Now, the big question, uh, AI and M&A strategy, the how, what, and why. Uh, is this becoming one of the key considerations for middle market firms contemplating inorganic growth?
Mm. Nilesh, thank you for having me here. I mean, this is a great question. Uh, I mean, for many reasons, because if you look at the strategies behind acquisitions, I mean, there's many reasons why companies look to acquire a company, but one of them could be the technology that that company has and the benefits that it could bring the company that acquires them, whether it's efficiency, whether it's data sets, whether it's, I mean, the list goes on, that are components that are used in, well, AI every day. So companies looking to make acquisitions to improve their position. I mean, right now, a quick way to do it is through acquiring a company that might have that technology that they're looking to implement versus, try to build it out themselves versus, not build it at all and have their competition surpass them. So it is an area where companies are looking when they're looking at targets right now. It is coming up in conversations, it's coming up in the boardrooms, it's coming up in strategy meetings of how are we going to stay ahead of what's out there. And it's really interesting. I mean, here I'm based in a little bit about myself. I'm based in Silicon Valley. I get to talk to some of the most cutting edge startups all day long. And they'll come to me and they'll go, listen, it was kind of odd. We just had a meeting with such and such company, and they're interested in acquiring us, even though we're very early. I mean, we think we're a strategic fit, but they're saying they want us for these reasons. And some of them is for our AI engineers because they have ideas internally of what to do. And AI engineers are in such demand right now. Um, but I mean, not only so you have companies looking to acquire engineers, acquire companies, acquire new resources. So yeah, it is coming up in conversations for sure. But I'd definitely like to hear more, the other people on the panel, what they're hearing around this topic as well.
Absolutely. Jeff, let me now come to you on this because now you work with firms in the technology space. And I think we've seen that technology sector happens to be one of those key enablers, so to speak. They are the first ones to capitalize on any emerging trend. In many cases, they are the ones who are setting up the pace. What exactly is driving such behavior?
Oh, I mean, I think you kind of have to take a step back in terms of like AI adoption as it relates to where I play, which is let's call it middle market, lower middle market M&A. Where it's gonna where the activity is gonna come from is essentially across vertical and niche tasks, right? Much in the same way you have software specific to, specific industries like construction or customer engagement or you name it. The what we're calling today is vertical software or relevant to you guys, Fold. Let's just call it business process outsourcing for specific tasks. In the next 3 to 4 years, that's really going to be AI, and that's where the transaction volume is going to come from. These AI businesses right now, I would just call them vertical AI. They're hyper niche applications, and they're all really call it sub 5 million ARR, so really small at this point. They're all going to grow to be financial businesses.
Sure, absolutely. Alok, in your experience, because you end up working with firms both on the buy side and on the sell side. Uh, so if you were to just take a step back and look at again the big picture, where exactly is AI fitting into the scheme of things when it comes to middle market firms?
I think this is thank you, Nilesh, first of all. Let me give you some data and then we'll talk about it. Today, we have our full research center and through which we run surveys with a lot of investment bankers and PE firms. In our recent survey, about 40% of the mid-sized companies or middle market companies are thinking about when they're thinking about M&A, they are thinking about AI capabilities of the target before acquiring them, or AI is a decision-making process in their acquisitions checklist for the target firm, which is a huge number because this was only 15-20% last year to 40% coming into the M&A space. If you look at the first 9 months also, the in middle market, just pick up the middle market, is a 25% increase in deals on the AI side. While the overall deals probably have gone down this year, but in the AI, the number of deals has increased 25% in the middle market compared to last year. And this is the data for the first, 8.5 months. We're talking 9 months data we're talking about. So when we are talking to the customer, they are articulating 4 or 5 reasons why they are thinking about going the AI way. And I'm focusing my conversations more around the middle market aspect of that. So one, greater operational efficiencies and cost optimization is still the number one reason which comes into their mind, that they have to run a efficient business if they have to survive in the long run. Number two comes in innovations and reduce time to market. They want to innovate faster so that when they develop new product, new services, new interaction point with their customers, they can implement them, they can reach out to them very, very quickly compared to whatever time they're taking today. Third is enhanced product, offering. Whatever product offering they have today, they do believe that it will require more personalization. It will require more targeted, outreach to their customers. It may have to draw more value out of the interactions that are happening with the marketplaces. Fourth, they're talking about increased competitiveness in the rapidly evolving market. They're worried about it in their mind. One of the big concerns we found that they're feeling that the large company or the bulge bracket companies have the resources to buy these technologies and adopt them very quickly. While for the middle market, to even find the right set of people, as Shawn briefly talked about, and acquire those assets and talent, and is very, very hard. So for them, even acquisition is a model through which they can buy out some talent internally, buy out some innovation capabilities internally, and remain competitive in the landscape. So we are seeing variety of reasons why people are thinking about M&A in the middle market, and AI is in the forefront of their on their thought process right now. And
Nothing
my belief
to.
is that this. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, please, Chad.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll let you finish. I wanted to add to your
No,
point.
sorry, I only foresee this is becoming this will catalyze even further. Every 3 months, 6 months, we will see more and more reasons coming out into play. Of course, there are sector nuanced as well. If you go to like marketing, digital marketing type of companies, then personalizations and how do I allocate my funds on ad spending? What is the ROI which I'm getting from various messages becomes a key driver. And if you go to healthcare, then the drivers may be different. But the fact is that people are willing to innovate, personalized, and sort of take their product to the market very, very quickly.
I think the other piece that should be brought up is AI isn't just there to automate, right? The I think where you get the huge win is when you have AI applications that beat their human or existing software counterparts, right? If you have better fraud detection via AI that significantly outperforms the existing solutions, that is actually the best case for AI, and that's the best case for technology-based act or for essentially acquiring technology. And we do see that's like an actual example where AI is actually better at fraud detection than the human counterparts. Another example, AI is in some cases better at customer engagement than their human counterparts. And that is, I actually have had a case of a potential client that was in the call center space replacing 70 human agents with voice AI because they actually did a A/B test and said, okay, who's getting us more engagement, who's getting us more customers, and they tested for a few months. The AI agents were clearly performing better, and so they went that route. So yeah, outside of kind of the obvious, hey, we're going to automate workflows, is there are outcomes in the right applications where AI is just much better. And I think that's really what you have to look for as you start looking at AI solutions. Is it actually better? If the bar is it better than the existing solutions, then you're going to get more adoption.
Yeah, Jeff, I give you one data point. In the financial services sector, more than 50% of the deal has happened in fraud detections, risk management, digital customer engagement, and this customer value analysis type of a deal. More than 50% of the deals has happened in those spaces. So I agree with you that if something can be done better by the AI, which is still a current need, it becomes an early adoption mechanism for organizations.
Yeah, and you got to the data probably a lot more scientifically than I did. I actually talked to 100 people to arrive at the same data, but I think my kind of offhand conversations with just folks I know and what you're seeing at a broader macro view is kind of coming to the same thing. Financial services, customer engagement, any sort of risk or compliance are kind of the first avenues that we're really seeing, um, you know, high leverage applications of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think no, we're all in agreement, and this perhaps is a more horizontal way of looking at AI and its implications in terms of functions where it's becoming more prominent versus others. But Shawn, you're in the middle of Silicon Valley, where all of these innovations are happening, and you speak with a lot of people, companies who are doing all of this. In your experience, I mean, are these specific to tech-oriented sectors only at this point of time, or are there examples from other spaces, from traditional sectors, consumer-oriented sectors as well?
Oh, yeah, I definitely. I mean, speaking of just recent conversations I've had, I mean, there was a company I talked to the other day that just created a WordPress plugin. That WordPress plugin, I mean, you'd think it's simple, but in the back end, it's got the AI for price adjustments in real time based on who your client, in each individual client, for that checkout process. And then as the person comes to the site more and more, it learns, and it's dynamic pricing for that individual at an e-commerce site. And with a plugin, you could be a store that brand new opened up yesterday and buys this plugin for whatever they charge a monthly fee. I'm not sure. I think it's less than $100, and you have capabilities that are up there with some of the biggest Fortune whatever 500 companies globally. It's incredible how AI is being used in every sector. So that's e-commerce, for example. Well, I mean, robotics and that would be deep tech. I mean, there's an interesting case the other day for that. But just thinking about some of the other industries that you might think are more. I mean, gosh, let's just look at marketing in your podcast for if you're an investment banker or someone that wants to get a little exposure out there. The solutions. I mean, gosh, I remember when Descript came out a few years ago, and you do your audio podcast, and maybe it helps get rid of the filler words and that, and now it's you type in a sentence and it says it in your real voice, and you make it's incredible the technology that an individual can use to help market and promote themselves, and anyone can use these things. So yeah, there's so much AI being used at a personal level for brand and for e-commerce for everything you can think of. Gosh, even I mean, one kind of individual use case that I actually really like, and I saw this not too long ago. There's a gentleman I had on my podcast. He created there's a chat bot, Mean VC. Basically, he just took all his podcast episodes and blogs and put it in. Um, an AI scraped it and came up with his digital twin or doppelganger, however you'd want to call it, to prep people before meeting him. So if you wanted to have your prep interview with the VC, or you could for investment banking, maybe a management meeting, you upload all the information on whoever you're meeting into this, and then it interviews you as if you're really talking to that person. Uh,
Okay.
and I mean, I should have done that for this interview right here, or this webinar. But no, there's just so many applications that individuals that cost almost nothing that anyone can use at such a small level. It's incredible now, and it's for pennies.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jeff, you work with many firms, right, in breaking them to taking to market. And I'm coming more from the sell side point of view. And I'm sure the process is unique because every client, every requirement is different. But if I were to ask you, what kind of tools or technology or AI are you using to your advantage when you're preparing a firm to go to market?
Two ways to answer: tools used today and tools used tomorrow. And you know, as with any new technology, the limiting factor often are the humans' desire and ability to leverage that technology, right? Tools today, basic stuff, Calendly, to automated scheduling, right? Grammarly to help you craft content. Similarly, Gemini or OpenAI, you can use both of those platforms to help you craft written content. And really, Grammarly, Gemini, OpenAI, they're all kind of text text-based AI, really good at crafting copy, not so good at pictures of math yet, right? And that's really hopefully where we'll see advancements in the future. But outside of those kind of, let's just call it general purpose AI tools, what we are seeing is more AI on the CRM and customer engagement front. The CRM I use is Deal Cloud. We've got some small AI capabilities on kind of the emailing and automated um, customer engagement tools with Deal Cloud. But broadly speaking, in the larger deal ecosystem, if you think about a deal as having three distinct workflows: preparation, the actual marketing, and the actual closing of the deal, we're seeing AI vendors go into and really start attacking those three verticals. On the due diligence side, There's a vendor like Stand, for example, which will actually just go into your data room and, if you're on the buy side, actually diligence about 80% of it and have some very nice reports telling you, hey, here's what the data room looks like, and this is what we think about the data room. On the legal side, which is more deal execution, AI's automated a lot of the NDA processing, for example. That's via Entra, which a lot of folks in the deal ecosystem are using these days. So that's out there too. And then closer to you know our core capabilities, which is kind of finance and valuations, you've got that used to be called data businesses are now basically leveraging AI for the for the purpose of valuations. S&P has Cap IQ Pro, which has some AI capabilities. And then there's comparables.ai, which is also trying to automate a lot of the valuation work that used to be, you know, myself 20 years ago in a very crowded bullpen at
Yeah.
20 hours a day. So now it's pretty much automated. And I think that's generally what you're going to see. You're going to see these small tasks automated. Uh, haven't seen, um, something that is more broad and all in one. And it really goes back to my earlier point of where AI is really good right now is taking vertical, highly niche uh, processes or tasks and automating or improving upon those. And that's what we're seeing in our own workspace, which is things that used to take a long time are now automated. And we're going to see more of that. It's just a matter of really picking the vendors and hopefully picking good vendors that are improving on existing processes.
Yeah, yeah,
Nilesh,
absolutely.
could I add a couple of
Sure.
companies to that?
Yeah.
Um, and, and these are all companies where I've actually talked to the CEO all in the last few months, to be honest. And what they're building is pretty incredible. Like, for example, one company, Valify.ai, they're global patent search. So, for a couple $100, they look at, is it 7 million patents in like 2 minutes, and gives you a readout of where yours might overlap, where there might be some red flags, yellow flags for your patents, or in a company you're looking to invest or acquire. Just beware of this. And that's an amazing thing to either one use during your due diligence period when you're looking at the company, or when you're thinking of, okay, we're going to take this company to market. Is there anything we should know? Oh, hey, the patents that you think are so valuable, hey, according to this readout right here, let's double check these things. So Evalify, that's a company. So that part of the process. Others, just had a conversation with the CEO of Finscope.ai. You put all your financials in, out shoots a bunch of questions of things that you should ask. Why these margins are this way? Why compared to industry average? Hey, how come this changed for this year? Why is this not? And just feed you a list of questions based on the financials that you put in. Another company that had a conversation with, Optionality.ai, where it's basically your back end research team where you put in the information, build out the data room, and then based off that, it gives you ideas and suggestions of how the deal might be structured. It gives you ideas and suggestions on I you know things to talk to the owner of the company about to increase valuations, where there might be issues. Uh, I mean, that's more of a general, where all the others are kind of more, segment AI agents. This is one thing specific, but
Right.
this is where the industry's going, where, I mean, all these companies, seed stage, very early, right? Give them 2, 3, 4 years with some money behind them. It's going to be incredible to see what tools and resources can be used in the future by investment bankers, by M&A advisors, by brokers out there, where you're almost having an entire team work with you for a couple of subscriptions.
Right, right. I mean, Alok, with you, now, whenever we talk about AI, I mean, there's this overarching statement that you get to hear, right? That AI may not take your job, but if you know how to use AI, you're definitely going to have a job, at least in the foreseeable future. If we were to just take a step back and look at M&A from a process point of view, because I know you're a very process-oriented person, you like to break things down into activities. Uh, we know there are tools that your team uses in terms of the starting point, the screening, the target list generation, and then going on to the deals process where you're talking about diligence. So, can you just run us through the process on what kind of tools typically are getting used in the overall M&A process?
Yeah, thanks. So what we did, we divided the entire M&A process into four buckets. So the first bucket is strategy development and targets and the buyers, sourcing side of it. Second is the diligence, support part of it. Third is the integration planning, and the fourth is post-deal integration. So we divided the whole process into these four buckets. And then there are two kind of tools. One tool is like Chat GPT, Perplexity. You can create a video. You can make better PowerPoint presentations. You can create a sort of summary of your conversations. It has your Gen AI sort of support system available to you, which can be used across a variety of use cases. So we kept them out of this list, and we focused on tools which are very, very specific to the entire deal making process of M&A deal making processes. About 100 tools kind of came up into the list. We made a team of about 6 people, and they evaluated around 40 different tools and products over the last 6.5, 7 months pieces. So let me just give you one example of that. So we have strategy development and target sourcing sort of side of it. And within that, we talked about, can they do market scan? Can they do identification and screening of targets or the buyers? Can they do a strategic fit analysis? Can they create scoring models? Can they do market sentiment analysis? These are the 5 major tasks within the strategy development and target sourcing. We divided into it. And we evaluated a lot of tools, but I'll talk about 6 tools which kind of made the list from our perspective. CB Insights, Grata, Source Scrub, MA Discover, Inven, Syndex, other tools which came out. As Jeff mentioned, the challenge is that there is no tool which is integrated and can do even this part, all 5 pieces of these parts. So for example, if you take Grata, which was very good from a target and buyer identification sort of perspective, compared to other product and tools, CB Insight was much better from a automated market scan perspective, which Grata didn't even offer, or Source Scrub didn't offer to the marketplace. But if you look at target score modeling side of that, how do I score the models? Then Source Scrub was better because they offer that features compared to Grata. If you look at Syndex, they have a fantastic model. In fact, you can even search for companies within 100 miles with sort of owners in a certain age group. They have all of these fantastic features, but their complication, their configuration is very complicated. So adoption for a user, for investment bankers, it becomes very hard because they have to figure out, how do I configure. It will take a lot of time. They have to go to a lot of screen to make it happen. It's not very user friendly aspect of that. So we found various tools with a lot of exciting capabilities, and I think they're adding a lot of features as we go by. But we couldn't find one tool which can fix all of these pieces. But innovations are happening very, 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 very quickly. If I go to the next stage of it, let's say on the diligence side of it, again we had 6 tools which made the list: Intralinks, Empiria, Ensarda, Kera, Tech, Nifi, Data Rails. These are the 5 or 6 tools which made the list. Some were very good in data room management. Some were very good in document analysis, NDA reviews. Some were very strong in data sort of financial modeling creations and valuation analysis aspect of that. Some were good in risk assessment. For example, you have uploaded a lot of data onto the deal room. They can figure out, oh, there was a lawsuit on this company 5 years back, which has probably not closed, or they have given financials in 2019 in this fashion, but in 2022 their financial model has changed. It means there's something missing in this process. So they're able to identify a lot of missing, information and also highlight the risk in front of you. So and then there were tools like data rails, which is very strong in predictive analysis side of it. So there was again a lot of tools offering variety of sort of features. I'm hoping that in a year or two they will be able to integrate a lot of these pieces, and hopefully we can use one tool for one part of the diligence process, of integration M&A integration process. So I think it is evolving industry. That's what probably I can say. I can give you a lot of other names for integration and reporting side. We did the Planful, Data Robot, Recon, Deal Room, sort of org view. We evaluated a lot of different tools, and each of them comes with its own positives and some where they are still trying to figure out how to go to the market.
Jeff, I noticed you wanted to add something to this.
Oh no, I think I'm seeing a lot of what Alok is seeing as well. Just highly fragmented space in terms of tools. It really does need to be unified, and something left out of Alok's segmentation is the actual marketplace for
Yeah.
deals, right? There are marketplaces out there like Acquire.com or Axial, which I think are not amazing marketplaces. They're the data and the quality of deals in both of those, may not be great at matching it with the right buyer. I think the in the perfect world, there is everyone kind of logs into the same deal marketplace, and everyone feeds data into that marketplace, and you are able to match with the two or three relevant deals that make sense for you, as opposed to looking at a database of call it 1,000 deals on Axial, all of which are not relevant to you. So I
Yeah.
think the the wish I would have is that there is indeed a kind of a marketplace type uh, uh, AI driven marketplace where everyone kind of subscribes to it and everyone feeds it data, and matching capital or acquirers with companies gets a lot easier, because
Right.
all of the things Alok described are kind of patchworks of the problem of let's get the capital to the buyer or to the seller, right? Or let's get the buyer connected with the seller. Um, and bankers included, we're trying to do that task. There should be, with enough data and with enough feedback, there should be just an AI driven marketplace that does a lot of this. Not all of it, but some of it. Right now, we have very little of it being driven with a marketplace approach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff, you are seeing that if you convert everything into a commodity market space in some way, if hypothetically speaking, it will become like buying and
It'll
selling an
become a lot
apartment.
more efficient. It'll become a lot more.
It is,
It'll be
yeah, it
like
is like
buying.
a buying and selling an apartment where you have all the data and the videos and the pricing and historical pricing, and it can match with the potential buyers who are in the
Yeah,
marketplace for that kind of
AI's
apartment.
role would be in matching the buyers and the sellers, right? Because it would have access to all of that data. But in a lot of these marketplaces, you can't even get a good set of financials, basically. So yeah, it's just missing participation and
Yeah.
data, both.
Yeah. I mean, to I think simplify from my own understanding point of view, it's essentially a Zillow of sorts, right? Where you know the listings, and if you're an interested buyer, you can actually go and look at those listings and go through an agent and perhaps go out and make that offer.
Yeah, more or less, it's a listings business. The marketplaces out there are listings, but broadly speaking, that's kind of the one of the big things you want to tackle in an M&A ecosystem is actually finding a buyer,
Yeah.
right? Everything we've talked to up until this point has been let's automate these tasks around
Yeah.
finding the actual buyer. But why not just automate and apply AI to actually finding the buyer? And the reason we can't is there isn't an efficient marketplace for it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Identifying that spot. So, in the audience, any innovators listening to this, now you get a new idea. Uh, but Shawn, before we started all this earlier today, we were just chatting. Nearly 40% of VC investments are happening in this space. Now, there's a flip side. Not all of these companies are AI companies. Some just call themselves AI because I think that's become a buzzword. But no, when you talk about such magnitude of investments, wouldn't exactly call it herd behavior, but when that happens, people start talking about this getting into that bubble territory. Now we haven't really come across a lot of research that says that this is becoming into a bubble. But do you see that as a potential possibility in the coming years?
Well, I do like the way you said some of these may not actually be AI companies because, I mean, you need to have just like a few years ago. Oh, this is a blockchain company. You're like, wait, what does blockchain have to do at all with your company? Oh, wait, it's on our pitch deck. Now AI is on every pitch deck and every family office from overseas or this new investment group or that. Oh, we want to invest in AI. So in that sense, I mean, I would call it a bubble. I mean, I don't have the data in front of me other than just conversations I've had. But I mean, when some of these on the secondary market, when there's allocation for some of these companies, Perplexity or OpenAI or that, you just see a flood of these first time overseas family offices wanting to jump on the, get involved in the hype or uh, first time fund managers. We're an AI fund. It's all the rage right now is the conversation of we have this Stanford AI PhD person that's part of our team that's raising this fund or doing this, and that's why you should invest in us. And it's definitely, I mean, if it's not a bubble, it's definitely how people are hyping themselves up. That's for sure. And it's just amazing how every event you go to, every conference, every this or that, there's some AI this, AI that. So, yeah, maybe it is a bubble, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, bubbles, they're a bubble when they pop. Until they
Yeah.
pop, there's just you know, it's
If I can take like a 10 seconds to it, if you compare to .com, Nilesh, right? I don't think AI is a bubble in itself, but some of the companies presenting themselves as a AI company and some of the buyers presenting themselves as a AI buyers, those are the bubbles. But AI as a concept, AI as a use cases, and AI is finding new and new application every single day. I do not believe AI in itself is a bubble. But there's a herd mentality, and there are some sellers and there are some buyers which always live in a bubble. So you can't help that. But AI probably in itself may not be a bubble.
Sure. Jeff, do you have some thoughts on this? Because no, while prepping for this, I was just doing my own research, and I realized that it's a buzzword like no other that I've seen at least in the last 10, 15 years. So, is there a risk of this, becoming a bubble?
I might be in a Lux camp here. It has to be. It seems a lot more tangible than
Mhm.
other things that have come along. Uh, and and really, I'll go back to the earlier example of the 70 call center agents versus the AI, and the AI
Yeah,
clearly won. I think it's pretty easy to look at the markets being or the solutions being displaced, figuring out the TAM, and saying we're going to take a piece of that because our solution is objectively better by any measure you see. And as long as you can kind of pass that bar of, hey, is this better? But say by a healthy margin,
yeah,
you know, those investments are worth it. So I think I tend to be on the, I guess, on the bubble side, not but the bubble side, but I tend to think that, the hype is warranted.
Okay.
I, I just I just see it I just see it displacing so many existing solutions in the market and in all of our industries that,
Yeah.
I just think it's really a matter of being very judicious in the companies you invest in. It just has to be better. It has to be better than what's out there, and it has to have a quick path to be able to displace existing solutions or be a completely new solution to a problem.
So Nilesh, I mean, to add to that, I mean, AI's been around since what, 1970? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just now we're hearing about it because we have the convergence of, you know, big data sets, the hardware to run them, and the algorithms. And with the use case that people were able to use OpenAI, it got in the hands of consumers and it got, pretty hyped. But at the same time, you've had companies in the startup ecosystem for years now. I remember, you know, well, when was it? 2017 was kind of the last little AI up and down where people were talking about it quite a bit. So it does come in waves, but going back to kind of what Alok was saying, that in the future, every company more or less is going to be an AI company. They're just not going to say it's an AI company just because it's in the background running. It's just part of the solution. And so right now, I mean, the hype I think you'd mentioned around the words itself, but yeah, I definitely agree with Jeff and Alok that it's going to be part of everything moving forward.
Yeah.
Maybe the AI we just in a year or two we just stop calling everything AI and just say, oh, that's the solution, but it's going to be a part of it. I mean, it's data. Data is every company that when it gets to a certain size becomes a data company, right? And
Yeah.
the algorithms and everything that run it, that's the advantage or a lot. But you know, going back to the rest of the panel, I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, this gives me a good segue to talk about the next set of points. And so far, we've looked at it more from an advisor, banker, service provider point of view, in ensuring that the process that one has to go through, how we're utilizing these tools to make lives, jobs easier. But from, let's say, a company's point of view, a middle market firm who wants to go through that process itself, what are the typical challenges like? I mean, are these firms investing in adoption of AI systems? There's certain obvious challenges, right? Data security, privacy, compliance. In many cases, implementation costs. Now, some of these solutions are uh, comparable to what's available off the shelf and are relatively cheaper, but many are extremely expensive, and not all the companies can actually afford them. So, Jeff, starting with you, I mean, what are your thoughts? Are actually middle market firms investing in adoption of such systems?
We are in what I would call mass market systems, right? I
Mhm.
mean, we do have Gemini subscriptions, Calendly subscriptions, Grammarly subscriptions. Where you start to draw the line is where it starts displacing um, existing solutions, right? So, am I gonna invest in and integrate, say, a solution like Stand for automated due diligence, or am I gonna hire a team that where their pricing is only 20% higher, right? So I think that's where it starts to get a little bit tough. And going to say valuation work, right? I had this conversation with the CEO of one of the vendors in the space, and she told me, she said, "Hey, we can build a valuation product for you." And I said, "It's not going to be cost efficient for you because I can get valuation work from, say, Fold for X $1,000 a month, and for you guys to build that and for it to be competitive in the marketplace, you have to offer it at a similar or lower price, and I don't think you can do that yet, right?" And so I think once the costs start to make sense and for these AI solutions, then we can invest in it. But it's got to, again, it goes back to, you know, is it better than the existing solution? Right now, it's probably not from a cost standpoint, at least the ones I've seen. Um, but yeah, I'm sure the costs are going to come down and it's going to be a lot more accessible. So anything that's kind of mass market, hey, we're paying $100 a month or less, easy to adopt. When we start looking at technology or AI technologies that are called 5, 10,000 a month, and that is some of the pricing of some of these, then it's a much higher bar because we do have between our own internal resources, business process outsourcing, or external services. We do have external legal, we do have external research teams, we do have our own analyst and associate bullpen. Uh, unless these very niche AI solutions can kind of compete and show they're better and cheaper, it's going to take a while to displace the existing solutions.
All right. Alok, would you agree with that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when we are talking to the companies and the 5, 6 challenges they see, cost is definitely a major factor. Talent, as I mentioned, is a major factor. Even to develop AI tools and products within for even local use or for your own organization perspective becomes, talent prohibitive and cost prohibitive, as Jeff mentioned. There was some concern, but I hope they will get, lesser and lesser as AI matures around data quality and data accuracy side of it. There are data security concerns we see a lot. Uh, we also see concern about how do I educate my own people within the organization? How do I talk to employees sort of about it, and impact or no impact on their career path, on their jobs perspective. Uh, we also seeing another pieces because it's in a very nascent stage. The operational integration challenges are happening a lot. You cannot take a new AI tool and integrate with SAP, for example, easily, or various pieces of SAP, for example, very easily. Similarly, if you take a external AI product, you cannot easily integrate with a CRM sort of product. So there are still data integration challenges are happening with the traditional data sources within the organization. We're also seeing that uh, one is that external data is coming in, it's coming from Google, it's coming from public sources, but how do I tag my own data properly to be able to build knowledge base within my own organizations? So even that knowledge of how do I organize, structure, tag my data to be more effectively used by AI is, I think, that knowledge is lacking within the organizations today, and they are working on to figure that out. How do I manage my existing data for knowledge base for the future aspect? So these are the 6, 7 things we see. Again, they vary based on the verticals and how tech savvy the organization is in some way. But these are the major concerns, Dinesh.
Right. Right. So, Shawn, one of the challenges that we keep on hearing revolves more around data and data security. From a service provider point of view, firms who operate in this space, you have ISOs, you have GDPR, defined regulatory areas which you can subscribe to and have those, answers to potential questions around how you're ensuring data security and confidentiality and so on and so forth. But AI and regulation, it's still evolving, right? There's no concrete regulatory framework or structure in place yet to ensure that it gets regulated properly.
Oh, not sure what the question was. I mean, I guess, are you talking about how internal for placing documents in that and being worried about AI just taking that information and putting it in the public sector for training? If that's the case, I mean, I had a conversation the other day with uh, an IP, a patent lawyer, about that, and he was asking, well, if you put this information when you build out your data room into some of these online, data room resources, that information the companies take that information, can use that, train their models, train everything, and you don't know what is proprietary is getting leaked out to the world. How do you protect your clients from that information getting out there? And I mean, honestly, my comment was, well, I mean, some people use Google Docs for their data room, others use these, extremely expensive, uh, deal rooms, and they each have their own terms and conditions. They each have their own privacy policies, and it's your responsibility to whichever you're putting your client's information to understand where you're putting it, and that's going to have a cost to it, right? I mean, one solution versus the other. One is almost free, the other is tens of thousands, and there's everything in between. So it is an issue that needs to be discussed with your clients who you're working with, and it's a cost. There's a cost factor to it, but that open discussion and I mean the liability. I mean, not sure who you'd want to say is responsible. Everyone's got their contract engagements and those agreements to mitigate risk, but I mean, ultimately, you don't want that bad reputation. You don't want your name getting out there that you've done a disservice to your client. So no, it is a big issue, and I think we're going to hear about some of those data leaks and that in the news moving forward, where people put their information in with certain programs to have it create a sim for them, have it create this or that in the process, and that information got out to a competitor or the public at large, or who knows. So I mean, this is still the infancy stage, so we'll see what happens. But no, that's definitely a concern that people should ask who they're working with. Hey, this data room, who has access, what's the source, what's the software, where will it be? I'm curious about the process that you're doing, how much of it is going to be your internal staff, how much of it is with AI, and what software tools are you using. I mean, those conversations should be open, and you should be able to have them.
Yep, yep, makes sense. So, Jeff, I mean, given all this and the way it's evolving so rapidly, uh, how do you see your role as an investment banker panning out in future? What kind of tangible changes do you see happening?
I see Skynet taking my job at some point in the future.
Just
Is the
rebuild.
short answer.
As
But
long as you invest in them, then you're fine.
right.
So
So I think um, there's going to be a role for the human touch in deals for the foreseeable future, but I do think it's just going to go away over time. But there are, and I'm just going to go take a step back to the regulatory and compliance piece of AI. There isn't an elegant solution for it today because there are, going to the Skynet example. Skynet uh, thinks very logically about certain problems, right? And the learning models think very logically about certain problems. If you apply AI to granting health insurance and pricing that health insurance, there's obvious problems with that. From a kind of social uh, good standpoint, you're basically going to reject anyone that actually needs health insurance,
Yep.
and obviously that's problematic from kind of not society standpoint, first of all, but just regulation and compliance standpoint. And the same thing in financial services. If you're Wells Fargo and you decide your retention policies and pricing is going to be driven by AI, eventually the AI is going to find a way to discriminate against a disadvantaged group. And that's, you know, you've got to be very careful with certain AI applications where uh, it's going to get into very kind of sensitive kind of regulatory hotspots, essentially. Healthcare is one of them. Financial services is one of them. But AI is prone to, you know, essentially taking the logical outcome of the data, and oftentimes it's not for the greater good.
Yeah. Yep. No, firms are grappling with that ethical dilemma. In terms of the role of investment banker evolving, And Shawn, let me not take this with you. When you're when a firm is going for an exit, how do you set those realistic expectations? Now, I understand market forces, uh, timing, buyers, all of that play a large role. But does AI have anything good, new to offer?
I just like how you mentioned the buyer's expectations because those are all based on your best friend at the golf course and what he sold his company for. And yours has to be a few million more. That's the rule in all situations. No matter what data, whatever market research you present to them, it's I have to sell it more than this person from the yacht club or wherever. But more seriously, I mean, at the very beginning of any engagement, even before that, we sit down and we have that conversation with the owner of just, okay, this is kind of the valuation range that we see. Are you okay with this? Because if their expectations are way outside that range, there's nothing we can really do. I mean, there's that slim chance, but for the most part, that's probably not an engagement we want to take on, just because the expectations are not realistic. And even if we get some amazing offers that are above our range, it still probably isn't good enough for the individual. And it's a disservice for everyone because I mean at the beginning we're honest and transparent. Listen, this is what we expect um, the outcome to be, this range. There's ways to structure it. There's ways to do many things to increase the potential options out there for what offers you receive. But ultimately, if you're thinking you're going to sell your company for a number way up here, in reality, yours is kind of more this range, the best thing to do is just to refer them to someone else or let them, you know, go someplace else. But no, we sit down and we give them market information. We on occasion will do our own uh, outbound surveys and collect information and interview groups to report back of this is what our findings are, and hopefully through a relationship, through building rapport and having conversations, they'll know, like, and trust us. That human aspect of, okay, this person is telling me as a friend, uh, but ultimately, sometimes the expectations can never be met. And if that's the case, that person might get the honor of retiring with their baby or
Yeah,
holding it forever.
right. I know we are almost at the fag end of this, but no, in terms of parting thoughts, I know we did something similar last year, and between then and now, the place has evolved. But Alok, parting thoughts. You see this entire deals ecosystem becoming a lot more savvier with the use of AI and Gen AI applications.
Oh, absolutely. So sorry, I'm a data guy, so I have to throw data back at you. So what we did this year, we did an experiment with 40 of investment banker, which is our clients, and then see compared to last year. Uh, if I look at target identifications or buyer identifications, and I look at screening process, what is the efficiency gain has happened with the use of AI tools sort of perspective, right? And we run that exercise over 100 use cases in these 40 clients. So in target identification, we saw about 40% reduction in the time which it was taken in last year versus this year. In screening, we saved around 25% of the time because you still have to do manual checking. Data which you were getting was not accurate in the first place, so you still have to do manual checking. But if you ask me, if you do this webinar next year again, and ask me the same question, my expectation is that this number will be 50 to 100% better, where we will have target identification savings maybe closer to 70, 80%. And the screening probably will be 40 to 50% time saving will happen. So there's a lot of efficiency gain in small pieces of tasks, repetitive tasks, intelligent tasks are beginning to happen. I
Yeah,
also expect that AI, which 10 years back investment was in robotics, for example, and then in the middle it happened in probably in supply chain. Now AI companies are more closer to the use case, your end customer, sort of closer to end customers. And tomorrow there will be data intelligence and cloud computing, because a lot of computing power will require. So demographics of which kind of AI deals are happening will also shift.
Right. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I would like to thank all our three panelists for sharing some really interesting insights on the subject, and also to attendees. If you feel that there were any questions that went unanswered, please reach out to our team and we'll put you in contact with the right person. We will also send you a link to the replay and ask you to complete the survey, which will pop up as we close. Thank you once again, and we look forward to welcome you on our next webinar, where we'll expand further on this topic. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Alok.
Thank you, Nilesh. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Shawn.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.